everyone, and welcome to the Burgess podcast, the show where we are opening up conversations about life at sea, discussing hot topics within the industry, as well as offering mental health support and promoting well-being for crew. We also have our very own in-house recruitment team, so if you or anyone you know is currently looking for a new position, please send your updated CV to recruitment@burgessyachts.com or check out our recruitment posts on Instagram @Burgess Yacht Crew. It's that time of year where we're all trying to commit to new healthy habits. What better habit can we focus on than to be in control of our finances? So for this chat, we were so thrilled to be joined by Tia Taylor, Yacht Management Accountant and founder of Luxury Learning, who spoke to us about why it's important to plan for our future and some of the money management techniques which we can all use. We're really keen to promote to crew the importance of being in control of your finances. So it's really great to have you here to help us do that. Would you mind just giving us a quick background of your career so far and why you decided to start your company, Luxury Learning?
Yeah, after finishing my degree in finance, I decided to continue my schooling and going to get my master's degree in global luxury management. And a lot of people are like, I didn't even know that was a thing, and neither did I. But it was a pretty cool program because we were able to experience doing a semester in America and then a semester in Antibes, France, which is where I fell in love with yachting. For anybody who has had the pleasure of visiting the south of France, you understand why you'd fall in love. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so after I graduated, I'm from America, so I said, okay, where is the yachting industry in America? That landed me in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So for the past 5.5 years, I've actually worked in yacht management on the accounting side. And being in management is wonderful because you see a whole different side of the industry instead of working on board. But you also run into a lot of ex-crew members. And that's where I kept talking to them and hearing a very similar storyline of saying, you know what, Tia, I had a ton of fun while I was in the industry, but I have no money to show for it. And I kept hearing this over and over again to almost an exhausting amount. So I was like, okay, so who's helping these crew members with their money? And I realized there really wasn't a person or a company. So I decided to create my own company. And like you said, it's called Luxury Learning. And, I kind of realized that if I can help a crew with their money, help track their money or increase their money, then they can significantly improve their life and their experience while in the industry and after exiting the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree, obviously we work in yacht management as well. And a lot of the people that we talk to that, come off yachts say exactly the same thing, exactly the same thing. And some even have to revert back to yachting, don't they? Because that transition from shore to land it's not as easy as you'd expect.
Yeah, it's not.
No. So crew are in an incredible position in terms of setting themselves up financially for the rest of their lives. What should crew be thinking about when planning for their future?
Yeah, they should be thinking about, like you said, making that transition. It's one of the hardest things to do. That's why we have something called, the golden handcuffs. They should figure out the best way to transition with what's important to them. Where do they want to go next? Where do you want to go back to family? Do you want to go to a different country? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? All these things are good for crew to have that forward thought process with their finances so that they can easily move over, because it is going to be typically a harder transition, seeing that for the most part you're probably going to be making a little bit less money than you did while working on board, and then your expenses are going to significantly increase. So I can say this because I've talked to many crew members, and I'm also the person who pays the payroll, so I know how much crew make and I know the stories behind it. So when I say that the transition is one of the key things to avoid the golden handcuffs, I truly mean it. If they can think about the best way to make that smooth process, being that an emergency fund, or making sure that they already have in place a house to stay, all these little tiny things can make it so much more of a smooth transition.
Mm. And what is the best way for them to do it? Should it be small, short-term objectives, or the bigger picture, thinking about retirement, thinking about, coming ashore?
So that depends on the person. That's the thing that I love about financial literacy and money management is how much there is behind just the numbers. If a person can figure out what's important to them, that's where they should start. Some people aren't big scale kind of people. Some people like to just to see what's the next step in front of them instead of thinking about 30, 40 years down the road. Personally, I'm more of like a mid kind of person when it comes to goal setting. So if a person thinks, okay, what's important to me? I want to continue traveling the world. I don't want to buy a home. I don't want to have a car. Then that's where they should start. Then you start implementing those small steps of, okay, how can I increase my traveling but saving on the money? If you're the kind of person who says, okay, I already have a family at home and kids, I know I want to buy a second real estate property to rent out, then that's your starting place. So the idea of big or small really starts with you of what's important to you, and it affects your finances so much.
Yeah, I guess the key thing is to be thinking about goals because, like we said earlier about the people that we've met that have come off yachts, they haven't thought about it and then it's too late. So it's about constantly thinking about, setting up for your future, having emergency funds, and issues such as health and sickness and wellness. If you do have to come ashore, it's just having that pot ready for any eventuality.
Yeah, the key is what a lot of people start off with is having emergency fund of 3 to 6 months worth. Crew is in a whole different scenario, okay? Because what you really want to plan for is if you are let go of the vessel or if you decide to leave the vessel, can you sustain yourself? Or again, making that transition from going on board to land base. But the emergency fund is so crucial because another huge topic with finances is how much it is incorporated with the mental side. So that means instead of panicking and saying, oh, I don't have any funds, I got to find just the next vessel that accepts me, you've already set up that emergency fund and have that savings in place so that you can make the best decision for you of, again, what program do you want to be a part of? Do you want charter, private, or do you want to be in a certain location? You have that ability to set yourself up to be in a good environment again instead of panicking because you have no money and having to pick the next program that just takes you.
So, I mean, we've all been there, an age where you're not really thinking about your future, you're living the moment. And a lot of crew in that age group where they are living life to the full. How can you encourage them to think about their future? How can we convince them to stop and think about 10, 20, 30 years down the line?
Mm-hmm. There's a balance, right? First off, we are in a absolutely gorgeous industry. There's no doubt about that. But the key is one to not try to live up to that what we see in our surroundings, but living up to what's important to you. That balance starts off in present day of being mentally, emotionally, physically, financially stable. That's very important. And then once you're stable, presently working on your future. If crew can understand, if they just put a little bit of time into their future with the same ideas of how can I financially be stable, then you don't have to worry about it as much when you get there. If you're always tracing present and being, okay, I'm only going to live for the present, then eventually it's going to catch up to you because something bumps in the road happen. It's, the most expected thing is the unexpected, right? So if crew can think and say, okay, financially, I know something will happen. So at some point, I'm going to want to go get my OOW. I want to take time off and travel the world for 6 months. Then if you have that ability to pre-think about where you want your finances to go and where you want to spend your money, that's going to keep triggering you to plan for the future and eventually retirement and say, I constantly want this wonderful, beautiful life. How can I work now to plan for my future financially with the money that I have, which could be saving, which could be investing, which could be real estate, in any kind of way that you want to go about it.
Mm. It's goals, isn't it? It's all about having goals, whether they're short term or long
Yes.
term. It's all about having goals. So, what, in your experience, what would you say are the most common red flags you see when it comes to yacht crew and poor management of their finances?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so the first off, crew typically aren't tracking their finances and being that mainly their expenses. I feel like I've ran into a couple that will say, okay, if I still have money after my paycheck, I'm doing it right. Any kind of money, if I didn't go over, I'm doing it right. And this is a red flag because if you don't even know where your expenses and your money is going out, it's really hard to be efficient with making those financial adjustments. I will have crew and they'll go through their expenses and they're like, wow, I didn't know I was spending, $800 on food each month, even though we have a chef on board. Like, so how is that possible? And that light bulb doesn't happen until you are checking your expenses. So that's the kind of first marker for red flags. The next one is, again, like we mentioned, being aware that it's going to be a change of lifestyle if you exit the industry. And a lot of crew aren't aware of just how significant that change is going to be. So again, part of my daytime job is having a budget for the yacht that covers crew food, crew uniform, crew toiletries, crew insurance, and the list goes on and on about that. And so when crew decide to go land based and their income almost nearly always drops and the expenses almost nearly, exponentially increase, crew aren't aware of just how much it costs to just live life, of now they have to get some kind of transportation and now they have to feed themselves every day. So if they are aware of that, then that also makes them aware of red flags of, okay, I need to again put some money away for when this, might actually be happening. And then it's just key to plan out of enjoying items that actually matter to them. You're going to be surrounded by a lot of crew on board, obviously, who have different cares. If some people love going out and having a good time, that is wonderful. Some people love traveling, going skiing, or going to some island. That's wonderful. But you have to figure out where you want to spend your money that actually pleases you. If not, you're going to be spending money left, right, and center on things that seem really fun, but aren't the key values that you appreciate.
I mean, it's an industry. I guess that it's very easy to be impulsive with your spending. Surrounded by a lot of wealth, surrounded by a lot of fun times. It's just easy to get caught up in that, I guess. But I'm interested to talk to you about what you were saying earlier about there will be a point when most crew will reach a point where they will start to think about leaving the industry and working on land and having that exit strategy in place. And when you talk about how much you have to earn ashore to have as much disposable income as you have on board, it can be eye-watering, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you even think about now taxes for most, if you're not American, now you're going to be paying taxes. Your uniform isn't the same for the most part, not given to you. You now have to have either business clothes or whatever industry you might dip into. Things change, especially on I think car is a big one. It, depending on where you land, of now you have to transport yourself. There's insurance for that as well. Like all these little tidbits now come up that you're like, crap, I didn't I didn't expect that. So those are the things that can be thought about when transitioning, again, of having that budget of, okay, I'm going to put money away from this and this to make sure I don't get caught not thinking about these other things. And that's why we also tend to put buffers into our budget and saying, I know I probably forgot something. Let me go ahead and put a 10% buffer into probably the real estate market being higher than expected, right? Or in the inflation that we're all dealing with right now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And if you enter into a savings plan, can you still afford it if you leave and go land based? That's quite an important piece of advice, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't, if anything from that, you shouldn't dive into something that there's inconsistencies. That's the downside of our industry is that, things change in a heartbeat. Owners let go and of people all the time. and you shouldn't be locked into anything that you can't cover for the future. So any kind of things like you just said, the savings plan, or you have a mortgage and stuff, you have to make sure that you can cover it beyond what the what ifs of the industry.
Yeah. You did a really interesting article recently about rotational contracts and the financial pros and
Hmm.
cons of rotational contracts. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because that was quite interesting.
Yeah, one of the best things that comes out of our industry is rotation. I mean, if you think about it, if you have a 2-2 or a 3-3 rotation, not many people can say, around the world that I work half the year and get paid for the whole year. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. The problem is, again, is making sure that you understand what comes with it. Everybody's constantly seeking out that rotation position, but now once you have it, you're going to have to live somewhere half the year. You're going to have to feed yourself, transportation, all the things we already talked about. Those things are now on you. So that's on one side for you to make that proper adjustment while you're living off board. And for the most part, your pay probably is going to decrease as well. There's so many positives though. I mean, you get to now spend time with your friends and family, and time is money, as we know. So that's very important. You get to travel to locations that, the vessel can't go to. And then you can start looking into other financial opportunities of having, real estate investing, or if you want to start a business with somebody else, you have more time to do that. So there's some wonderful pros and cons to evaluate on what kind of rotation you might or be interested in, or whatever your vessel potentially provides for your position. But the key is just really making sure that you look at all the options and are making the best decision for yourself.
Yeah, and think about the financial implications of, both sides, both sides.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there to that we've talked about that for crew to think about. Can we finish with what are your top tips for crew who want to make a positive change with their finances?
Yes. Okay. So off the bat, crew, please, 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 one, check your leave balances and check your pay slips. Again, for somebody who has done this for the last 5+ years, I've taken boats from other management companies, I've done new builds, I've done everything. Your pay slips aren't always correct because they're being handed between your the payroll itself is being going between a captain, a yacht manager, sometimes the owner rep, sometimes the owner. Then it's going to be handed off to an accountant, the payroll company, and then some other next up. Like, there's a lot of people who touch it, and you need to make sure that your pay is correct at the end of the month. Everybody wants it to be correct, but it's on you to check. So that's the number one thing. Um, Number two is that, again, you are in one of the best financial positions in the world. If you have an ounce of credit card debt, it needs to be paid off immediately. There's nearly no reason for you to have it. This is very, very important because you're just paying the credit card company's money that is unnecessary. And number three would be to seek help. I am very much aware that money and numbers is not everybody's thing. I love it, but but it's not for everybody. So if it's not your thing, watch YouTube videos, ask a friend or family member who's good at it for help, because at the end of the day, it's your money. Nobody else is going to care for your money the way that you are going to. So if you're not the best at it, then ask somebody to assist you. But you have to be on top of it because it is on YouTube too.
Fantastic. What does luxury learning offer crew? How can your company help crew with their finances?
Yeah, so I have three services. The first one being one on one sessions where you come to me. We either meet in person or on a video call or a regular call, where I directly help you with your finances. The second one is crew workshops, where I'll have crew from all vessels, or maybe you're not even on board right now, come together. I teach you about financial literacy, making a base budget, emergency fund, everything to get you started. That's number two. And number three is team trainings. This is where I will go to the vessel, and the the boat will pay for it. So crew really enjoy that one. And I'll train the crew together. Captains tend to like it because it's kind of a team building exercise that they really enjoy and work with good synergy on board. Plus, finances is a little hard to talk about for certain people. So having an open environment helps people a lot. So those are my 3 services.
Fabulous. Fabulous. And to encourage those conversations amongst the crew and how they can all help each other with, controlling their spending. That's got to be a good thing. Well, I think Tia has given us all a lot of food for thought. It's so important that we plan for our future, and it's so great that Tia has devoted her time to motivating and guiding crew to just have a think a bit more about setting financial goals and how to budget in order to meet those goals. So a huge thank you to Tia and to you all for listening. And if you want to learn more about the services Tia provides, then do check out Luxury Learning at luxurylearningsolutions.com. Bye for now.